Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. My name is Griffiths. I'm one of 12 UK Ableton Live certified trainers in the UK. Fortunate enough to be the only certified trainer in Wales at the moment. And today I wanted to sort of demonstrate and explain to you what Ableton Live 9 can do. What I want to do is go through my setup, what we're using today, and look at the software as well. Really, the intention today is, how I use Ableton Live 9 for my setup and my productions and my performance, really. Okay, so let's have a look at what the software is and on a basic level, what's going on here. If you've not kind of used Live before, well, it does look slightly different to previous versions. It's got a new improved browser, which I like this new feature here for places. This is fantastic. Previously, you only had 3 access points in Live. You could access any of your files, sets, folders, whatever really. Now in Live, you can just continue adding to this as many as you want. So you may want to have one for different types of music. I've got there myself. At the moment, I've just got samples, Twitch and Ableton and sets. But what I can show you is quite easy how to actually add any new folder which is outside the program into the program. So if I just locate some samples that we're going to be using a bit for this this session, this is called Mongo. So I literally add it to the places section in the browser, and it becomes visible there. And that's the same with any folder. It's quite useful because you can just fill this up with different things you're working in, different locations and key points in the computer, which will save you time actually, later on. I think the main thing in Ableton and all versions, well, a lot of things in life really, preparation is key. You can prepare to a certain extent where things are so nicely laid out, it makes your life much easier. The categories you're looking at here as well, we've got things like sounds, drums, instruments, audio effects, MIDI effects. Max Live, which is now been built for the full suite version as well with Live 9. Plugins, clips and samples. So if I wanted to access any of those out, like for instance, audio effects can be applied to audio and MIDI tracks. Unfortunately, MIDI effects can only be applied to MIDI tracks, but as you can see in the list here, there's a huge range of effects that can be applied to either MIDI or audio. And not only that, every effect name you're looking at, including the glue compressor, has its list of own presets to go with that as well. You can create and save your own presets with any devices you're working in Live. And yeah, I mean, anything, for instance, if I want to locate any of my sets now, I just go to sets straight away, and they're all there listed in date order as well, which makes my life much easier rather than rummaging around outside the computer. Try and stay fixed in the browser if you can, because eventually you get more confident and things start to become quicker with your workflow as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just bring that file in. This is like an edit a friend of mine did of Candy Stratton. And just double click on it and have a look at the file. So it's quite quickly, it's imported into software. You make a copy and it's cached for you as well, just so that your file doesn't get destructed or anything, it stays safe. If we look at the file and have a look at it a bit more in depth, Ableton has got an auto warp feature set up in the settings and the preferences, but it doesn't sometimes always get everything perfect. It's a machine at the end of the day, so it's not a DJ or producer. You put that work in yourself. So if we have a look at the start of the file here, and there's a tiny gap there of silence. That could be for where the track comes from. A lot of time, on a disc you get maybe track 1 to 10 with a 2-second gap of silence each, where the track's been divided from one to the next. Sometimes just there's a silence in some tracks. So what I need to do is just pinpoint the start point, which is the downbeat or the first beat of the bar when we're warping. And Ableton, with the new version of Live 9, and I believe this was existing in Live 8 as well, you can see these like kind of grey markers here. Well, they're like ghost markers, and what you can do is if you double click one, you can fix that marker. It's almost like your audio file is like an elastic band really, and you can stretch it, to make it stretch it out for a longer period to make it play slower, or streak it in to make it play quicker. With an audio file like this, what I'm doing is I'm setting the start marker up. It was originally there, so I've double clicked and almost like nailed a marker with the audio file. You can imagine a grid behind it, as you can see, and it's like nailing that file down at that point so that that stays fixed and it doesn't move. So what we can do, we can right click on that then and set up a start marker from here, set the 1.1 from there, show you that again. Okay, and then what we can do is something that's fairly modern like this piece, providing the timing's quite good. If you right click on it and go for the option walk from here straight, it's quite a safeguard option for more fairly modern types of dance music. There are other warp options there with things like where you've got like walk from here, starting at the BPM. I tend to go from this one first, and if I think that it's not kind of doing as I want it to sort of stay in time, I'll actually go for walk from here. Walk from here is actually great for any style of music, especially older pieces that maybe are quite loose in their timing. Things like I don't know, Bill Withers' Lovely Day, for instance. I believe when that was made, it was a live recording. Even if you play that to metronome now, it drifts quite badly. So with Ableton, something like that, you can actually correct the timing issues very, very quickly, and keep that track perfectly in time from start to end by applying walk from here. What happens, you tend to get a lot of yellow markers in every two or every bar, holding it down to the audio grid to keep it perfectly in time. Hence, this is where things like Ableton becomes really fun when you're doing mashups as well. So let's just have a look at the kind of, what I'm doing is I'm coming to the end of the file now. Rather than actually adding lots of markers myself to hold it down, if you come to the end and try and locate maybe the last kick drum of this piece.
It looks for peaks when it marks.
Yeah, it's looking for transient peaks of sound level, and when it's actually reading the file for the first time, caching it, you can see these other like peaks here happening with smaller ghost markers nearly in line with them. So what I want to do is actually just find one or two of them that I think are probably going to be much more easy to pinpoint and pick out. I think just from using the guide of where they fall on top of the spike, so I'm going to just double click this one and move it over. And the best way to check anything in Ableton when you're warping is switch the metronome on. It's quite important that you're using that as a timing guide. Don't use other drum loops because they may be slightly loose and then you're following something that's not accurately perfectly in time to the kick track. So just start with the metronome on, and we'll just check in 3 places. Right, let's have a look at how this starts first, and let's turn it down a little bit. Good example, because I know already that's drifting. So what we can do is have a look at the start where the drums really start from. You can see a gap there. So I'll bring back, I'll double click again on that point, bring it back a bit. You probably saw that align in time with a bar measure up the top here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use that option of the walk from here that I showed you earlier, because I can see already that the timing issue is drifting on this slightly. So there we go, it's added a lot of yellow markers now that have stabilised sections of that file throughout the duration of its playing time. Even that's a bit loose there. It's a good example to show you how we're going to get it back in. So the rest of them, now I'll apply the walk from here option. Probably from the start to the end now. Timing, stay in time. Okay, he's got a gap here where it's not equal. So what I would probably do again is bring that back to an obvious bar measure there, and do the same warping from that point onwards. So whether you get any timing issues happening, everything that you've already previously warped stays in time past that point. And when you're going into the track, you can just continue that method of warping. And that's what warping does basically. It allows your file, when you're changing the tempo then up here, to stay perfectly in time to the master clock. There's a customized template that I put together, mainly for DJing. And you can see deck A and deck B have got their own clips quite far down, which are kind of spans quite some time down. We can actually close the browser window a minute and just have a look at the session view alone. And a lot of this is mainly breakbeat stuff, and it kind of goes more down then to different types of styles, you know, house, tech, electro. I guess more towards the bottom of these tracks. Just like you would in a record box, it gets a bit older, you know, but I try and keep more of the more recent stuff that I'm enjoying and playing out at the top. I've got another channel here. We'll just minimise the size of the acapella as well. We've got another track here, an audio track, which is for acapellas. Everything that is in the acapella channel is generally controlled with this controller. So as you can imagine, one of the key features in Ableton is the fact that with Logic, it's called time stretching, when you keep the audio set to the master tempo at the top right there. With Ableton, it allows you to actually bring in any audio file format you want, and instead of calling it time stretching, it's called watermarking. So if we have a look at a file here, for instance, maybe faction D, your name's not down. If we just have a look at the clip itself here, and we can see, just moving, let's just close the envelope window. We can have a look that we've got this track here. It's a full-length track. It's probably about 7-8 minutes, something like that. You see the movement of it, where the breakdowns occur and where the track kicks back in again from several places. What I've done is I've actually set a marker here at the start and a little more of a stabilizer one here and one at the end as well. And what that's now done is allowed the track to stay perfectly in time. I'm just going to launch this little application, which is Twitch Live Translator, and it allows me to work with the controller. Just turn that off a minute. Just restart. Bear with me a second. Okay. That's better. It was trying to do two things at once and it wouldn't like here. Okay, so with this translator running in the background, it allows me to use this interface with the controller a lot more effectively. So all the up faders, most things are actually mapped and good to go on this. Cross fader, up fader, normal controls you'd expect in a normal DJ mixer. We can have a look if you want before we start the demo of the DJing, what's actually listed in each channel. So I have things like Super Looper. We'll just give you a demo of what that sounds like. So just bring the other fader down. So I can just literally switch it on. I've got a knob here which is set to the loop length, which is on this controller here. So you should be able to see on the screen this knob here moving while I'm adjusting. Turn it on. So it captures a section of the audio and keeps it there as a loop until you're ready to release it. So it's a bit like some of the new Pioneer mixes they've got with the whole feature, except you can customize anywhere you want the controller for that to happen. We've got things like these pads, for instance, are set up to beat repeaters with several of them in a rack in itself. So they're all different parameters, just give you an idea of what they sound like. So we've got that kind of set up there. We've got like a DJ Q3, which is all nicely mapped with the bass. mid-range and treble here. So keep it sort of on the same lines really as a traditional DJ mixer. And this cool feature here, we've got like a touch strip, which will go to low pass or opposite to high pass. Nice feature, people can see you filtering when you're DJing. You're not permanently staring at the screen all the time. Doing small stuff with the controllers, which is what people want to see you performing. Deck B's got the same effects, the multis here as well. Each one of these twists of the knob here and this chain here and this rack will actually, when it's switched on, we'll just run through individual effects at a time, which do their own little thing. Turn on and off, all insert effects at the moment. And the acapella channel is quite interesting. There's a few more things on that, but it's kind of kept on the same lines as Deck A and Deck B. So what I'm going to do is just use this controller just to MIDI assign. And what's happening, I want to actually, firstly I want to pick an effect to do some live clip automation now, which wasn't possible before with Live 8. So if I select one of the audio effects, let's have a look. Some great stuff in here, in the audio effect rack. And let's just come back a minute, I need to go to the audio effects here, audio effect rack. Performance and digital and DJing. There should be a super looper there, which is a new super looper, not like the old one which wasn't originally part of Ableton. Someone had designed it, but they've actually customized the concept of design now. Let's say that we wanted to set up automation in this clip. So first thing I want to do is arm the channel. Something that is important that you must remember, otherwise the clip automation process is not going to happen, you're going to be a bit confused. So we just arm the channel, and what you need to do is make sure that this button is enabled. Obviously you can see there from the info box, it's the automation arm button as I explained earlier on at the start of the session. And there's another button here with a circle. As soon as you press that, I should get a 1 bar count in, which will enable me to now start recording into this MIDI clip here. Alright, so let's just close some of these windows here. Okay, and then let's just bring up the notes there. Again, in the MIDI window, the piano roll window there, you can see the pattern, which of the main melody is being played at the moment. So this, let's get that ready, set up. Make sure I'm ready with my control as well. So I think just for 16 bars, I'm just going to sort of go up and down and create my own little effect on top of this. This is what it sounds like without the effect. Quite simple, but melodic patterns like this, especially in house and tech and dance music, work quite well. So you're going to make sure your track's armed, the automation buttons are enabled, and this one with the circle on it as well. It's really important, just must be important what it's called as well. The session record button. Alright,